Welcome to the NBAV podcast. NBAV coming to you February 5th, 2024 on a Monday. We're going to recap 9 games of basketball from last night, February 4th. We're a little bit over halfway through the season. The playoffs are really starting to shape out. We're seeing where teams are going. Some teams are hampered by injuries. Some teams are gearing up to try to make a run to get back into the play-in or into the playoffs, starting with a whole bunch of games that went down exactly like we predicted, exactly like we thought were going to happen. Magic beat the Pistons 111-99. Suns beating the Wizards 140-112. Celtics crushing the Grizzlies by 40 points, exactly like we predicted. Pacers beating the Hornets 115-99. The Clippers and the Heat was turning into that good game that we thought it was going to be. And then the Clippers, James Harden just hit a bunch of threes. The Heat defense relaxed a little bit too much. Clippers ran away with it near the end of the ball game, third, fourth quarter. And then we have the Raptors the Raptors losing to the Thunder in overtime. And this is a game that I want to focus on a little bit more because the Raptors were winning this one big time. They were winning this one by over 20. And the Raptors, then just everything shifted. They were going against a shorthanded Thunder team. The Thunder were playing without Jalen Williams, the better Jalen Williams, the one who's super reliable from three, the one who has been a steadying force on this team the entire season. And for the second straight game, he wasn't there. They were also missing Isaiah Joe, a guy who they rely on for three-pointers. What you have at the end of the ball game, or what you really have the entire ball game, is Gilgeous-Alexander can't be expected to do everything. And when he gets hit with a double team, he's got to be able to pass the ball off to someone who can hit an open shot. Typically, Giddey's not that guy. He's not a reliable shooter at this point in his career. Chet Holmgren, not really reliable shooter at this point in his career. Yeah, both players have strengths. With Giddey, I would say it's more of the passing. With Holmgren, I would say it's more the defense. But the Raptors were totally taking Gilgeous-Alexander out of the game. I think at halftime, after halftime, he was in like single digits. He was having trouble breaking into double digits. He was really uncharacteristic for a guy who consistently drops 30 points. But the Raptors were just locked in, doing exactly what they had to do. You have a shorthanded Thunder team. They're missing some of their best three-point shooters. Just do what you have to do to take Gilgeous-Alexander out of the game. And they did that. The Raptors, say what you want about them, they're committed on defense. That's their strength. Just think about what a weird team the Raptors are for a minute. They already traded 2 guys who were defensive anchors. They had OG Anunoby. They traded him to the Knicks. And boom, Knicks take off for the skies. They go on a 9-game win streak pretty shortly after he got there. And now OG is anchoring the defense for New York. They already traded another player, a second player, Pascal Siakam. Now he's on Indiana. He's anchoring their defense. The Raptors still currently have Scotty Barnes. He's the anchor of their current defense. So you have 3 guys who were on one team together, all playing really the same role. 3 defensive anchors. And I know that Barnes can do a little bit more than just anchor the defense. I know that Siakam is also a good presence going to the hoop. He can also score. And I know that OG can also hit some timely three-pointers, good corner three. But these guys, their strength is anchoring the defense. And somehow the Raptors ended up with all 3 of these guys on one team at the same time. They trade 2 of those guys, and they still have a third one. What a bizarre, bizarre team. And if you look at the Raptors even more in depth, they have so many players who would be such assets on other teams. And for whatever reason, everyone combined on this team doesn't really amount to very much. Gary Trent, ice cold 3-point shooter, he would be magnificent on so many other teams. If the Raptors were putting him on the block, I mean, how many teams would want him at the trade deadline? Any contender or someone trying to be a contender or trying to improve would want Gary Trent. You have Pirtle, pretty valuable big man, a player a lot of teams would want. Maybe not at his price tag, but, a valuable player nonetheless. Then they have Quickly and Barrett, who just don't seem to be doing very much, specifically Barrett. Barrett really, really struggling. Quickly, tried to steady the Raptors in their last game, but also Quickly and Barrett just not doing what we thought they would do, but still players who many other teams would want. I mean, you think the Warriors wouldn't take a chance on RJ Barrett right now? With everything that's going on with them? You think there aren't 20 teams in the league that wouldn't want Emmanuel Quickly? So the Raptors, the point that I'm trying to prove is just that they have all these guys, and they already traded 2 of these top defensive players this season. But for whatever reason, they just can't get it together. They're just missing that big star. It's so interesting because the Raptors were a team who were really in that same position before they won their NBA Finals. They had, I guess, what was a ready-made structure to win, minus the big player, minus Kawhi Leonard. And then when they made the trade, sending DeMar DeRozan away and bringing Kawhi Leonard in, they immediately won a championship. So the Raptors are just strangely kind of in the same position. They built a really good structure. They have the foundation, and now they just need to add the superstar at the top. But unfortunately, I guess you can't always just add a Kawhi Leonard. He's not always available. But if you look at it through that type of lens, the Raptors are that one crazy move away from maybe going back and doing what they did with Kawhi Leonard when they won their championship. But for now, they're just a mixture of these good, valuable pieces. But then they go blow a 20-plus point lead to the Thunder, who didn't really even have anyone who could play in the game. I mean, they had Gilgeous-Alexander, but they're missing Jalen Williams, Isaiah Joe, and there were other players who had to go out in the middle of that game. I'm trying to remember who it was. Cason Wallace. Yeah, Cason Wallace only able to play 18 minutes in that game, and he was out of there with some injury concerns. So, I mean, like, how do you blow that kind of lead to a team that's playing without all their players? Just, the Raptors going all in on the defensive end, and then they when the defense collapses, there it goes, game over. Dort hits a whole bunch of threes, and somehow the Thunder come all the way back and ends up going into overtime and beating you by 8 in a game that the Raptors totally should have won. Nonetheless, we move on to Minnesota handling business against the Houston Rockets. They win by 21, 111 to 90. The Bucks against the Jazz. This is one that we got to concentrate on a little bit more. Bucks against the Jazz. The Bucks are winning big, 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 big. And the defense folds up. They stop hitting shots. Jazz go on a big, big run. They're just getting baskets, cutters moving all over the place, getting easy dunks, getting easy buckets from Clarkson, getting easy dunks from the backup big man, second season player, Walker Kessler, getting some easy buckets. Jordan Clarkson doing his thing. Markkanen, of course, chipping in with his 21 points. And somehow the Jazz not only end up beating the Bucks, but they end up beating them by 15. They came out of left field, and they just destroyed the Bucks in the fourth quarter in a really, really embarrassing loss. And then what happens at the end of the game? Giannis makes a statement with 35 seconds to go in the game. He leaves the court. He exits into the locker room, and you just have a bewildered and puzzled Doc Rivers, your coach of the Eastern Conference in the All-Star game, just sitting there wondering, what did I get myself into? I started the joke of firing Doc Rivers after he called a play call to win the game, but shooting a 3 in a game that they were down 1. So they needed 1 point. They set up for a 3-pointer. And then it gets announced that he's coaching the All-Star game. So how do you really, how can you in good conscience go coach the All-Star game, and then you come out in this one, you have the game in the bag, and then the team folds over, defense gets diced up like Swiss cheese, and you have the star of your team, the most important player in Milwaukee, probably the most important person in Milwaukee. I mean, what does Milwaukee have going for them right now? No idea. But, I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't get much bigger than him. He's storming off the court. Can't control him. You can't control Giannis if you're Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is just lucky to be there. And then in the postgame, Giannis gets asked by a reporter about the play where Giannis felt like he took a hit. Colin Sexton stands over him, and then Beasley comes to his defense and gets a little chippy. And Giannis says, yeah, that's the type of team we have to be. We have to be the team that's there for each other and have each other's backs no matter what. But Giannis, if you're preaching that the team has to have each other's backs no matter what, and you're saying that this is just going to take time and you guys are working on the right things, but it's just a tough road trip and going back to back, and you're excited to use all these new defenses and all these new plays that Doc Rivers is bringing in, so the team is exerting too much energy in practice and they're a little excited, and then they're more tired and they don't have their legs during the game, and it's just about figuring all that out. If that's really what you believe and you're preaching that you got to have each other's backs as a team, you can't walk off the court while your teammates are still on the court. I know that you're not a losing type of player. You take it personally, and when the team which you're a part of, by the way, when the team which you are a part of blows a lead like that, you're walking off the court is kind of you saying, I'm not a loser like this. I'm not a part of this. There's a part of this that is not me. And I'm keeping that part of myself, and I'm taking that to the locker room. I'm walking away with the winning part of me intact. And then, with his time to regroup, he comes back to the reporters and he says all the right things. But you got to hold yourself a little bit more accountable. I know it's hard. I know you don't want to sit on the bench for those last 35 seconds, letting the loss marinate, knowing that you were part of blowing this lead. I know you don't want to take all that accountability, but you got to. You're the best player on this team. You're the franchise player. And it's your job to sit there for 35 more seconds for the money that this franchise is paying you. And they surrounded you with a championship roster. And when they hired the coach that you wanted and it didn't work out and you didn't want him anymore, they fired him and they brought in someone else for you. And they have your brother on this team. They have your brother sitting there. Your brother doesn't do anything for them. This is a team that's gone above and beyond to compensate you very well for what you bring them. And it's your job to sit there for 35 more seconds and have their backs the same way that the team has your back when Colin Sexton embarrasses you. Nuggets beat the Blazers 112-103, as everyone expected. Coming up today, February 5th, 2024, we have 2, 4, 6 games of hoops on a Monday night. 6 is a good amount of games. I like that. Not too many, not too few. We can really focus on all the games we have here, and we have some good ones. We have the Kings gearing up to go against Cleveland. Cleveland playing at home. They won another 5 games in a row, fresh after they won 8 games in a row. So, the Cleveland Cavaliers it's been them and the Clippers, top 2 teams in the NBA for the last while. And I guess you throw the Knicks in there as well. Knicks, Cavaliers, Clippers. Those have been the big 3 right now. So Cleveland going to try to stay hot. Sacramento's going to be coming for them. Cleveland's getting a little bit healthier, which helps them with Garland and Mobley. And the Kings have been playing much better as of late. So this should be a really good matchup here. Sacramento versus Cleveland. And that's just the first game. Then we go to the Lakers. Lakers have won a couple of games. They beat the Knicks, something that the previous 9 opponents of the Knicks couldn't figure out how to do. Nobody could seem to figure out how to take Jalen Brunson out of the game the way the Lakers did. And the Lakers got to take that momentum in and handle business against Charlotte. Then we have the Mavericks going to Philadelphia. They're going to face the 76ers. And the Sixers have to be a gimme game at this point. If you are one of the good teams in the NBA, if you have hopes of going somewhere, you got to walk into Philly without Embiid, and you got to smash them. You got to beat them. Let's see what Dallas can do tonight. Dallas, Luka's been real hot, but they lost their last one, so they got to get back on track, and this is a real opportunity. You can't, when you have a gift at your front door, you got to take it. You can't just pass on it and fall to a team that's top-heavy, missing their best player. Tyrese Maxey's going to bring it, but outside of him, you got to put the rest of the team to bed. You got to win this game if you're Dallas. Then we have the Warriors coming off of another crushing double overtime victory where Steph Curry scored 60 points. But it wasn't enough, as Trae Young and DeJounte Murray finished them off. Warriors going to go against a much easier team now. They're going to go against the Brooklyn Nets, and they got to handle business tonight. If they can't win this one, I mean, what else can the Warriors, who are they going to beat if they can't beat Brooklyn? Then we have the Clippers going to face the aforementioned Hawks in Atlanta. Hawks trying to get a little run together, but the Clippers have been, as we've mentioned many times, one of the best teams in the NBA over the last 30 games. And it's not going to be an easy victory for the Hawks if they're going to win this one. But the Hawks have a habit of playing down to competition and up to competition. So we'll see if they can do that again tonight against the Los Angeles Clippers. And then we have the Raptors going back-to-back. They lost last night, a game against OKC that they should have won. Now they're continuing this road trip going against New Orleans. New Orleans, a tough team to predict. And this one could really go either way. The Raptors have the capability to make it really tough on New Orleans. And New Orleans has the capability to go up and down the court in transition if the Raptors can't score and just blow the Raptors out of the gym. So there's really no way of knowing what's going to happen in a Raptors versus Pelicans game. Two pretty unpredictable teams, and should make for an interesting one. The only team there that has a chance to actually go anywhere is the Pelicans, so you would hope the Pelicans take advantage and can figure out how to beat this Raptors team, a team that's probably going to trade a few more pieces before the deadline. So Pelicans try to take that in there and beat the Raptors, who are in a bit of a low right now, blowing what was a massive opportunity against the shorthanded Thunder team. So let's see what Zion and the Pelicans can do tonight. That just about does it for us here on NBAV. Follow the show on X and on Facebook, NBAV, NB Avenue. And email the show at NBAVENUE, NB Avenue, also spells like NBA Venue at yahoo.com. Email us your questions and comments. We are your source of NBA action, fun conversation. We are your place for a great time every time. And until next time, we are out.